pursuing here for $1, and we'll watch that together. Court is in a recess right now, a little mid-morning break there in Park City. You see the seal. As soon as they're up and running, we'll get you back into the courtroom. Joining us now is Dwane Cates. He's a criminal defense attorney in Phoenix, Arizona, and this is it. This is what we're waiting for, because now we're going to hear from Gweneth Paltrow herself. What are you expecting, and how difficult is it going to be for her to be on the witness stand? Because it's difficult for anybody, actress or not.
Absolutely, it's a difficult place to be, especially to face cross-examination. However, Gweneth Paltrow on the stand will be a breath of fresh air compared to expert testimony, which is always kind of dry and drawn out. However, you know, she's an actress, so she's used to the spotlight. She's used to public speaking, you know, and I think she's going to tell her story. Now, it's going to come down to credibility, whether they believe her or whether they believe the doctor. And, you know, that's what the jury's going to have to decide. Now, the experts kind of contradict each other. And so, you know, you can cancel those out. You know, I tell people all the time, you know, trials are about what it looks like, not about what it really is. And so, you know, jurors get gut feelings from witnesses, and they're gonna decide who they think is right and wrong. And this isn't criminal; it's just 51% one way or the other. So you know, it doesn't have to be beyond a reasonable doubt.
Which is a big difference. And there's just two prongs really to it as well. Let's say, all right, I can't really discern whether Gweneth hit Dr. Sanderson or vice versa as a juror. The other part of the equation isn't it, that they've got to convince me that Gweneth Paltrow, you know, little Gweneth, she's not a massive person, even though Sanderson said it was like King Kong coming down the hill. That she caused these lifelong injuries. That's part of the equation here, isn't it? And that's why the experts are so key.
Yeah, it is, because you have two things. You have causation and you have damages. Okay, so even if they prove that she caused the accident, he has to prove what his damages are and whether his medical care was reasonable and necessary. And you know, the experts are talking about, well, a lot of this were pre-existing conditions and weren't caused by, you know, even if it was her fault, they weren't caused by this accident. And so, you know, that's always a big part of a civil case. And there's also, you know, generally in civil cases, there's comparative fault. So they can assign some of the fault to the doctor also, even if they find it was mostly her fault.
Yeah, and what about liability too, in terms of personal liability when you decide, I'm going skiing? Well, isn't there an inherent risk in that activity? And nobody dragged Dr. Sanderson to the hill that day, and that's why Deer Valley's not part of this. It was thrown out, that part of the lawsuit. Does that come into play, do you think, in the overall defense case that we see maybe in closing arguments? Like, you know, hey, he was skiing on a ski hill and these things happen.
Yeah, you know, that could be part of it. Like if he just was skiing and fell and broke his, and you know, and hurt his knee, you know, that's the inherent risk. But you know, you shouldn't have a risk of getting hit by somebody. Again, it's just like driving a car, though, unless you pull directly in front of somebody, you know, then
right.
You know,
yeah, I get. Yeah, that's a good analogy. That you. I don't know. It's with no real eyewitnesses, and no one is saying that Gweneth Paltrow was flying down the hill like a mad woman, and it doesn't pass the smell test, does it? That Gweneth Paltrow is going to really go crazy with skiing with her kids on a green beginner run?
Yeah, you know, this is the you know, the beginner's run, and you're right. There is no testimony that she was skiing like a maniac, that she was crazed, she was out of control, she'd been causing problems all day. You know, had there been testimony like that, then this would be a pretty easy case, you know, for the doctor.
It would have been settled out of court. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been settled out of court. But in this case, there's nobody that's come up and said that she was out of control, and you know, and it was her fault.
All right, let's get a break in, because we are expecting this mid-morning break to conclude fairly quickly. And if you're just joining us, the headline is that we do expect Gweneth Paltrow on the stand today, and she will take the stand according to the plaintiffs before Dr. Sanderson. So is she next? We'll have to wait and see. Let's get a break in here. Get you back into the courtroom right after this.